All right, today I'm going to show you how to tape a wrist. I like to use Johnson & Johnson brand tape. What I'm going to show you how to do is mainly immobilize your wrist so you can continue doing whatever you want to do. All right, it's not a cure-all, it's not going to make your wrist feel better, but it will protect your wrist a little bit so you can get through things like a competition or a workout. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna start with a base strip, meaning the part of the tape that touches your skin and the part that the rest of the tape is gonna connect to. So I start with the edge of the tape here in the middle of my palm on the meaty part of my thumb right here, okay? It's gonna go around my wrist along the edge. So I'm gonna go all the way around, nice and gently, all right? And if you need to adjust it a little bit, adjust it, because all of the tape should lay as flat as possible. So it's gonna go all the way around my wrist. It's gonna cover that first part at the very beginning, and then it's gonna go down back to this corner, all right? Once it's there, you can tear it, and that's your first piece, all right? And then I'm gonna make one more piece just like that. So I have a little bit of a wider position to start with. So I started with that same spot on my palm. I'm gonna wrap it around, except I'm gonna go a little bit higher this time, kind of towards my pinky. I'm gonna wrap it just underneath the calluses on my palm here. And then I'm gonna end in the same position on the corner. And there are my base strips, all right? The next part I'm going to tape is here on my arm. The easiest and best way to do this is by tearing the tape off, laying it flat, and then putting your arm in the right position and gently wrapping it around. At no point should it be so tight that it makes the skin do this. It makes your muscles kind of make that shape. It shouldn't do that too much, all right? It's gonna happen once you bend and flex your wrist, but as long as it's straight and you're in this position, it should lay as gently as possible, all right? So that's the first base strip. And then the second, and it should overlap just a little bit. And make sure it feels nice and comfortable too. It shouldn't be uncomfortable and it shouldn't be too tight. I'm gonna make one more. Once you get better at it, you can just kind of wrap it, lay it down, and then just kind of adjust it with one hand. You usually should be doing this to someone else or have someone else do this to you, but in a pinch, you should be able to know how to do it to yourself. So now that I have a bunch of base strips for the inside of the tape to hold on to, now I'm going to start wrapping it and securing it. So this first one I'm gonna do, there are a couple ways to do this. The first one I'm going to do is just like the first base strip that I started. I'm gonna start with the edge of my palm right here, wrap it all the way around, okay? Be careful not to make it too tight on this side of your palm. It's very uncomfortable quickly. I'm gonna wrap it all the way around and down, but instead of tearing it right here, I'm gonna continue wrapping it and connect the piece that's on my hand to the piece that's on my arm. And I'm gonna just wrap right there all the way down. And once again, it should lay nice and flat. It shouldn't be pinching your skin too much. So I'll do one more like that, just as an example. This is just one technique to taping your wrist. So it goes on my palm, around in a big circle, and then it's gonna go down into the corner here, and it's gonna protect and go over your wrist. Another method to taping your wrist is an X shape. So instead of starting here on the palm, I'm gonna start either here on this side by my thumb or on this side away from my thumb, on this side of my wrist. So I will start right here. I will wrap it between my thumb and my index finger, around my palm, around my pinky, under my thumb, and against my wrist. So it goes around my palm, around my pinky, down here. And it's gonna lay flat here as much as possible. And I wanna make sure it's gentle and firm. Oops, I had trouble tearing it. And the more you go along, the more you add tape to your arm, the tighter it's gonna be and the more secure it's gonna be. So it's gonna feel like you're wearing a cast almost, all right? You wanna protect your wrist as much as possible. Now that you're here, after you finish the original base strips and you add those last two techniques where you wrap around the wrist, now it's just a matter of adding pieces of tape between your arm and your hand to make sure that the wrist and your joint feel secure. So they could be like, the strips of tape could be like those last two techniques. You could add strips here just as extra support to make sure that your wrist can't bend in either direction. So you add one here, maybe on the sides, however you want to do it diagonally. But the main idea is just to make sure that your wrist is immobile as much as possible. Once you're done with all of the pieces on the inside of your tape, on the inside of your wrist, then all you do is add cover strips. And by cover strips, I mean I'm protecting all of these inside pieces, like this last piece that I put on. There's nothing worse than going into a match or grappling or whatever you do and having it rub off or roll away, and it's just a useless piece of tape now, all right? So now all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cover all of these pieces of tape with more tape. So I like that first technique that I started with. Grab here in the middle, my palm, wrap it all the way around, nice and gently, and then I'm gonna hold it right here. And I'm gonna end it. And this gives the added bonus of making it look pretty, because now you have all the ugly layers underneath covered by the good looking layer on the top. And then again, here, just adding more cover strips to protect all of the tight strips of tape that are underneath. And you really only need like one layer of cover strips. And then once you're done with that, once you're done covering all of those inside pieces, you're done. And you've successfully taped your wrist. All right? Just make sure you don't cut off your circulation. Make sure you can squeeze your hand and hold on to whatever you need without it being too painful.